Go.
So, hey guys, today we have Tanya here, who is a psychologist and a neuroscientist. So, can you tell me a little bit more about your history and how you got into this line of work?
Okay, I think all psychologists came into this work to work on themselves and on their traumas, And I've had a very long journey, and I've traveled many countries for ethnographic research to see how society works, how it operates, why it is like this, why certain cultures succeed, and how do they do it. And I lived with like shamans of Peru, and I lived with Bedouins in Sahara. So I've done pretty pretty crazy experiences. Right now, I work in trauma psychology and specialize on trauma, how childhood trauma affects the development and our attachments later. In general, like our life.
Yeah, so I think we're going to have a really good conversation today
Yeah.
because we're going to be talking about how social media and short form content affects our mental health and the development. A little bit about myself. I'm Manu. I run Infotech. We are a short form media platform which basically tries to provide factual, fact based short form edutainment videos. So we're a little bit different from Instagram and TikTok. So the basic idea of it came because I realized how short form video and social media platforms are changing. Social media platforms used to be a place where you could connect with friends, know what's happening around the world, maybe learn a little bit about the news. But right now, what it's turned into is just this complete cesspool of brain rot, AI videos, and influencer content. Everyone's just trying to take your attention without giving anything back. And it is really addictive because when I was in uni, I used to see all my friends spend hours a day on social media and they basically had no idea what they were consuming. And the kind of videos, if you ever looked over their shoulders into their phone, was honestly just so bad and brain rotting, and just it felt bad for me to just watch my friends watch it. And I realized that, oh, I'm also a part of the problem and I'm consuming the same kind of content. So social media has turned from this place where you could learn lots about the world, learn about different cultures, keep in touch with friends around the world, and it's just turned into this short form dopamine hitting, content cycle, which just tries to get you addicted and get you on to stay on the platform as long as possible so it can increase their revenues.
Exactly. I also, after speaking with you, I started taking a note of my screen time, and now I started receiving notifications. And I say, even me, the neuroscientist, even me knowing the effects, even me having talked with you, I am terrified of the
Yeah.
number of hours I spend there. In general, it is crazy that we spend at least, like, I think, average 1/3 of our waking hours on screens, even me,
Yeah.
even us who are aware and who want to limit it. And right now what I see is that there is a lot of, I would say, unprocessed trauma in the society that people are refusing to address, and there is a lot of anxiety with that, related to that. And most of the people cope by dissociating on the app. Whenever our nervous system is facing a crisis or an issue, we have like two responses, usually fight or flight. Fight if we are stronger than an enemy, and flight if the enemy is too strong than us,
Yeah.
But there is a third kind of response, is that when your nervous system is being stuck in a like it can't decide what to do, so it dissociates in the moment to take a decision. And that's how dissociation happens, and we start like ruminating about these things, and we just zone out. So I see a lot of people zoning out from kind of their real problems or something that they need to work on and sort. And the place of zoning out turns out to be like our phones and our screens.
Yeah, that's very accurate because even for me, when I think about it, my social media addiction actually started when I moved to my new uni and I didn't have many friends over there because I just moved into this new place, and culturally it was so much different living in North. And I realized that just because of all this, loneliness and not feeling of being accepted, so this kind of pushed me into using social media more and more. So it was a response to the situation that I was in, but it was the easiest way. And I think the biggest problem is it's socially accepted for you to be using it, like compared to drugs or
Exactly.
alcohol. Yeah, if you're just scrolling through social media, it's seen as a socially acceptable form of
Escape.
activity. Yeah,
And
escape.
I feel it's even not only acceptable, it is what is propagated and like encouraged by the companies, and like you are used as a user for their revenue, and like this should raise a lot of questions. And I feel there is now a big problem because most of the people are disconnected from their body, because like our initial gut feelings are something that allowed our species and all species on earth to survive. And because we lost that connection, we are now very confused. It's very easy to tell us anything pretty much, you know, because we do not have our own anchor, our own bodily intuition that says that, ooh, something is off, or ooh, I like, you know, most of the intuitive things have become like a very big deal. You need to have a research paper to prove the most intuitive, basic, obvious things right now, because people are so confused by the amount of information and amount of stuff that they are get disconnected from sanity. And now it's very sad also that many of the things, it's like, oh, I don't believe you, or I don't feel this is true, I need to ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Which often, as you could maybe comment, creates false information, because it is not encouraged to say that, oh, I don't know, or I don't have data on this, etc. So it's encouraged to always find the how to say, to confirm your request, you know, somehow.
So that's another point I like to come to, is the social media bubbles that people live in, because social media is a self accepting machine. So you get to watch whatever information you like or you agree with. You don't really see the whole scale and full picture. If you believe in one certain way, it's likely that the algorithm is going to push you more into that direction and reconfirming your beliefs, because that's the content that you want to see. And this kind of gives you this false narrative that the entire world is this way and this is the truth. So instead of looking at the actual factual truth, or even looking at both sides of the equation, you are led to believe that this is the entire worldview and this is the basic truth, which is, I feel like, another big issue with social media when it comes to even politics or religion or race and stuff like that, which causes actual real world harm because of based on people's beliefs on these matters.
Yeah, I think it's super dangerous. Also, the fact that I read somewhere that 45% of the content we consume is AI made, and none of the actual users are fully aware of what's going on. The more we see something, the more familiar it is. So the more we start liking it, and also, how to say, later choosing something like that just because of familiarity, you know. So this is how ads work. First, they put placements within the how to say, shot or within the movie, and that's how we started to like, oh, that is a cool thing because I've seen it in a movie. So when we keep watching the things, it's not good, because it really primes us to certain concepts. Most of the time kids learn online on the phones, and we don't know what they learn and what they are fed. And as you said, this constant kind of that you just need to open your mouth and just receive feed, literally limits the agency of the user. It limits like their ability to choose and to actively kind of take part. And sometimes you need like to get a different kind of content, you need to break walls. And also it makes people, I feel, socially, you know, like isolated, because as you said, you feel like you are alone, like with your thoughts, because you are being pushed. It's like the same like during wars, there is propaganda going on. So you open like Twitter or something, and we just read, and it could be that all of these are AI generated videos, which is crazy. Now we can't trust anything at all.
We won't even be able to know if it's AI or not. It's going to be just as good as quality wise, and it's going to make us easily believe that every single video, that even if it is AI, is real. But again, you touched on a really good point, which was the young children. As much as it's affected us, I feel like it's affected us at a later stage in our mental development. But what I'm more worried about is, you know, young children, even like ages 3 and 5. Parents are giving them iPads, which are trained on, which are learning everything, and they are from their birth being brought up with these social media platforms and short form videos. And it is shown in multiple studies that this is causing a change in their behavior. Like the rates of ADHD is increasing, even if it's not ADHD, just the hyperactiveness and the attention deficiency, because they can't focus, because they've been trained on these short form videos. And also just the fact that they can't concentrate also reduces how much they're able able to learn in schools and universities, and reduces their IQ too to an extent. So these are all long-term effects that are based on, childhood consumption of social media use. So do you have any thoughts on that?
There were studies comparing cognitive performance of kids who did swiping versus who watched long, like piled together videos, same videos, but without their ability to swipe. And they've seen that those who didn't have ability to swipe have a better cognitive performance. Then the second thing is that for real, it is affecting our attention because they are unable to focus anymore on the long form of content. And even if you look through these comments of the comment section, many other teachers, they're saying that yes, for real, I confirm. I do not have a degree. That's another thing. You do not need to have a degree. Science is very much behind in like many ways. So it takes a long time to prove things. And also it depends on who pays for the research, who is funding it, and the type of findings they want you to find, kind of. So
which actually brings is a quite interesting point, because if you look at it, like all the billionaires who actually have the most resources, they all try to control either social media platforms or news platforms, because in a way, if you control the algorithm, you can basically control what people think.
Crazy.
That's why Elon Musk bought Twitter. That's why the richest people are the ones who owns Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and even the US with the TikTok ban coming into place, everyone's trying to get to buy the US rights of TikTok because they know that it's a way that they can affect elections, how people think, and even vote on certain topics. So social media is turning into the news of the new age, where when like 10, 20 years ago, people were trying to control the news. Now they're trying to control social media because this is how we consume news.
Remember when I was small, we were reading, how to say, the
I feel reading is going to be such an old term now.
We were reading science fiction, and we were reading, I remember reading that, and they called them and they saw their face while calling, like, wow, that is so much in the future. And me having lived through Skype, etc., now that we can call from the phone, this is like crazy. But about books, there was another research also that showed that, why we like reading from books still is that there is kind of a vibe that we get that where there is end, you know how far you are from the end. But the swiping thing, it makes us not aware of this, where is the end, and that's also very harmful, for the brain and for the development. So I think we will miss the good old times in that sense,
Yeah, I feel even personally, like since the advent of social media, I've been reading less. It's something that I should probably get back to at some point. But I do feel it even personally that it has been affecting me and my ability to focus on stuff. So moving on. So a few other things that social media, I feel, really affects us is our IQ. There's been statistics that came out that for the first time since since the last 200 years or so, since we had civilization, so to speak, the average IQ of people have been going down. There's a bunch of reasons that people are coming up with, but the one that people tend to go back to all this time is just social media usage and short form content and how it's affecting us. So, but if you just think about in the grand scheme of things, right, the IQ of a population is what allows us to grow and build and create new inventions. So the idea that if the entire world's IQ is decreasing for the first time ever, doesn't this mean as a species we are, going in the wrong direction?
I feel there is a deliberate agenda of something that's going on here. We do not know who, but something, it seems like too good to be true to me. First of all, I feel that most of the people have been traumatized and they have a lot of childhood trauma. They are not being given help. Then that childhood trauma and limiting beliefs and limiting kind of pathways that they keep acting. They have to wear a mask and a persona to deal with their trauma. And then on top of our traumas, something is being broadcast to us.
Mm-hmm.
And because we, while having trauma, we disconnect from the body, from our gut feeling, from that intuitive knowledge. I've traveled many countries and lived with many cultures, and in the end I see that even the most primal cultures, like I lived with Bedouins in Sahara,
Yeah.
I lived with Peruvian shamans who had no education formally, but somehow there is a wisdom internal across the cultures. It's like they say that before Babylonian tower broke
Yeah.
down, like, we all had the same knowledge, we all had the same truth.
Yeah.
And now suddenly this, because we are disconnected from the gut, we lost our intuition, we
Yeah.
lost our ability to think. We need someone, some authority to tell us, here is the research paper. And another thing is that in 10 years that research paper might be proven wrong.
Yeah, I feel you were right in saying that there's an agenda, because if you actually talk to any of these people, billionaires, millionaires, who actually invested in these technology that they're trying to promote, whether it be Instagram or something, if you look at Elon Musk and where he sends his kids, he sent his kids to schools and universities that basically limit the amount of phone usage, and he
Exactly.
himself says that he tries to limit the phone usage of
Yeah.
his kids. So these billionaires are basically telling everyone in the world to use their applications, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, but for their own kids, they know that it's a negative influence, so they're trying to control it. So I think that's really funny when you think about it.
This is a very smart move to increase and deepen the trauma, because first of all, let's see what they show us. They show us fake bodies, to girls. They show fake bodies, fake stuff, like successful success that you can't reach
Yeah.
by a certain age. So for example, everyone is pushed into performance mode, but we forget that nothing in nature just performs all the time. So like everything needs to ripen, first to grow up, then to flower, then to ripen, and then when it's ready, it will give the fruit.
Yeah.
You cannot demand from any plant like fruit all the time, but we are shown constantly on social media that you need to have it. And I know people, kids who are like at 14, say to me that, oh, I tried to start my business at 14 so that I am a millionaire by 20, etc., etc. Even the vertical feed, the fact, like, they could have chosen anything, but like the way they've done it, the swiping vertically, it's the most unnatural thing for our eyes, because our eyes are designed to track things horizontally. And there is even an EMDR therapy, which helps to treat traumas by moving the eyes side to side. But strangely, while we are on the phone, we are moving in the opposite direction. It's reinforcing the addictive loops, within our brain, the dopamine loop. So it is the same thing, like not having the end in this. Like in the book you read, there is an end, you will reach it, and wow, you'll tell,
Yeah.
but or you'll know how many pages are left. Here you don't know how many. It's like a slot machine, you don't know how many pages are left to this, how many videos. It's a constant surprise which video you'll receive, so you constantly get that dopamine, and it's called like intermittent reinforcement, that you never know what is happening next. And that is the best way to keep a user, animal, anyone engaged. This is a way to enslave,
That's a good point that you brought up, because the comparison between gambling and a slot machine and social media is very accurate, because they actually did run tests on social media, and they basically had 3 scenarios. One where a person got videos that they didn't like, that so they tailored the algorithm to give the user videos that didn't give them the hit of dopamine, and another one that gave that gave videos that the user liked intermittently, and another one where all the videos that he got was something that he favorited or liked, or videos that he was supposed to that the user was reportedly engaging with. So what they found was actually surprising, where the people that got the videos intermittently had more dopamine rather than the people who got videos that they like constantly, because it's not just the act of getting a video that you like, but rather the fact of scrolling, and then maybe the next video is better. The act of the unknown,
Hope.
the hope, it's like pulling the lever of a slot machine, the chance of of maybe winning or losing. And funnily enough, even the person that got the feed which was completely filled with videos that he didn't like, even he had high amounts of dopamine because he used to keep scrolling hoping that the next video, even though after 100 videos you're still getting all the videos that you don't like, the hope is still behind you.
Crazy,
So
huh?
it's like it's the way that they've developed these systems to keep you hooked, just like slot machines and gambling, because they do affect the same parts of the brain that they're trying to engage. So I think it's time that we look at social media as the same way we would look at cigarettes or gambling or any
Exactly.
other kind of addiction.
Yeah, I don't drink and I don't smoke. And whenever I say it at a parties, everyone is like, and I'm like, since when? Since when it has become cool to spoil your body, pay someone money for that? Someone is benefiting from this, from everyone spoiling their health in the youth. Why certain things are forbidden and certain things are being pushed onto you. And I know there are platforms also that, how to say, they are uh, giving you coins for usage, or they reinforce you for that.
Yeah.
They give you money, or they give you some small tokens. I think even Twitter was doing this
Yeah.
earlier for comments or for something.
Yeah.
So
So that's another good point that you're coming into, the monetization part of social media. Like the fact that a lot of people are actually making their livelihood just making content on social media. And here, being in Bali, I've actually met with quite a few content creators, and what they say is quite similar in the larger spec. For the content creators that have started a while ago, they have told me that the kind of content that they started creating has changed completely because they are trying to match with the algorithms. Because if you don't create content that fits in with the algorithm, you're going to start losing followers, even if it's good quality content that you actually think should go viral
yeah,
and should reach a lot of people. If it's not the kind of content that Instagram wants you to create,
exactly.
it's not going to work. And for a lot of new content creators that are struggling or starting out, their pitch to me has been the same: find something that works on Instagram and copy it.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and if you copy it properly, and if you're lucky and you're consistent enough, it works out. So I think that's where the problem begins, where even the people that are creating content on Instagram or TikTok or any social media platform is doing it with an ulterior motive rather than just to create good content that they really like. It's not like the old times or the starting
Yeah.
days of YouTube or Facebook, where people were just creating content because they like to create content. Now there's always an agenda, there's always an idea of creating money from it. And this is, I think, even worse with Twitter, because Twitter actually pays out a lot more based on content if it promotes a lot of comments and conversation with it. And this usually tends to be a lot of negative content,
Hmm.
things that shows hate on one specific group of people, or spreads lies or misinformation or hate, because it doesn't really care if the comments that are coming onto the videos or the posts are positive or negative, as long as
Exactly.
there is more engagement. So so for more likely than not, it is all social media platforms are incentivized to push content that infuriates people, that makes them angry or makes some kind of emotion, because anger is a stronger emotion than happiness or pleasure. Because if you find something that makes you angry, you're much more likely to comment on it rather than something that you
Yeah,
agree with.
because our body prioritizes, and brain, it prioritizes survival rather than happiness. So
Yeah.
the human being, or any being, it first needs to survive, and therefore it attends to negative emotions first, and then whatever positive, if there is anything positive. So that's why negative emotions or negative stuff will always get more traction, and maybe that's why also all the news are negative. Another thing about Twitter, I want to tell you that I know personally people who work in crypto and who made spreadsheets of influencers and how much they pay them to say a certain thing. And I've
Yeah.
been through those calls in person, and I was like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
So like it's not good
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So and about I really love your feature in your app, that you say that you could how to say, localize news. Like you go
Yeah.
through the news and you make them local, or you make them
Yeah.
sorted, because our brain also like did not develop to take in all the hate, all the pain of people who are very very far. Like our system is not designed for that, and it is too much overwhelm for the nervous system,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And the way it is done, the way news are done, it's like you start any news channel or you open Twitter again, and there is always visuals of someone being like killed somewhere, something being blown up somewhere, war started somewhere. So it's really good that you kind of take care of that, you know.
Yeah. So the basic idea of Infotech is that there's a lot of people, including you, that actually want to create content that is both educational and entertaining. And ideally, information that is also fact based and verified. And there are a lot of creators out there. It's just that the algorithm does not prioritize those creators.
Yeah.
It prioritizes cats falling from trees, influencers with OnlyFans accounts, half naked, and just like all
Or
these
full
hate,
naked.
yeah, or full naked for that instance, yeah. And all these AI content, this AI slop that gets eyeballs. It doesn't really focus on the content that actually people have created with love and effort to actually bring a message out, or to actually educate people about a topic, or something that is actually created with love. And yeah, thank you for bringing up the news aspect of it, because it was Infotech never really started off as a news platform, but it was actually during the after Twitter got taken over by Elon Musk that I realized that, you know what, we can probably do Twitter better. We came up with the Pulse feed, which is basically uh exactly like Twitter, but instead of just letting people post whatever and letting hate speech run rampant, we tag all of our posts along with a truthfulness rating. We're letting a completely open AI algorithm to let us know whether the information that you're posting is true or not.
Yeah, I've seen this recently because I've been recently visiting Twitter a lot.
Yeah.
And I've seen that people ask Grok all the time, like, is it
Yeah.
true? Is it true? And I've seen that on some threads, it refuses to give the answer. And someone was asking, hey, did Elon Musk program it in such a way that it refuses or deflects whenever some sensitive topics are being brought up?
Yeah, I think that's another issue where, especially Grok from Twitter, used to be a quite decent AI tool, but now because Elon Musk is basically microprogramming it to fit its own worldviews, it's turned from an actual AI platform into something that's just spewing versions of
Yeah.
Elon Musk's worldview. And moving into the bigger spec of thing, a lot of companies are moving away from transparency, like whether
Yeah.
it be OpenAI or a lot of AI platforms, or even just Palantir and stuff like that, which are actively spying on people. A lot of companies don't seem to have any kind of ethics anymore. They're only trying to make as much money as possible, and they literally cannot care less on whether the process where how they're trying to make money is in any way ethical, or if it's harming the people that they're actually trying to make money off of.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we, as I said, we disconnected from our gut feeling, from our intuition, from the greater intelligence which we all carry inside, and
Yeah.
we all know the answers to all questions. It's just that we are constantly being bombarded with the information which is let's say from collective unconscious. It's not your thoughts. Polyvagal theory says is that we are stuck in survival mode, and it's very important to be in a group. And that's how you say the social media started for the lonely people who had an ability to connect with someone far away.
Yeah.
So this was the idea, and now we are being more and more isolated from this,
Yeah,
from
and
something that could heal us and is not natural to us and is normal for us.
Yeah, and the loneliness epidemic is only getting
Exactly.
worse. And I think this is again being fueled by social media, because we have this escape. We are less likely to go out and socialize and connect with people and go to events and stuff like that and find people in real life.
Yeah.
Because we always know that, okay, I can just go to my phone and find 10, 20 people that agree with my mindset. I already have this shield of identity, of anonymity, of being on social media, that I can say whatever I want and not
Yeah.
care about the repercussions of
I've
it.
seen a lot of this. I've seen a lot of people who are very brave and very on social media. And when you
Yeah.
meet them in real life, they are incapable of opening their mouth or standing for their opinion. It's easy to keep yourself shielded with the anonymous profile or with like within your safe space, and it's very unsafe to be able to stand for your words in real life. And you said a very interesting thing that it gives us an illusion of a lot of options. It's the same like in dating. That's why the loneliness epidemic, it feels like there is some agenda that we are unable to act from the pure raw essence and raw power that we have. Because imagine how much power each of us has the talent we carry. And
Mm-hmm.
if we just unite, just the people in this room, we just unite with our talents, I don't think we would need much more than beyond what we already have, you know. And so to make sure that the people are traumatized, and then to make sure that these traumas are being pushed further by social media to say that you are not good enough, you have not reached enough, you have,
Yeah.
not worked enough, you have not earned enough, you are not pretty enough, etc.
When it comes to just controlling a population, the first thing you do is limit their information and make them feel
Mm,
inadequate. Because
yep.
if you have a population which is ambitious, which is smart, which is educated, it's much harder to control this kind of
Mm,
population. So the first thing that even cults or anything does is to
yep.
limit the amount of information that their members have. And this is being done in a much wider scale using social media. Social media allows, the owners to tweak the algorithm so people feel more depressed, they see more about wars, about destruction, they feel hopeless. And this allows, people to come in, and whether they have a political agenda or a financial agenda, it's much easier to, sway these people because they're already not in the right mindset.
I think the whole gender confusion, etc., it was started and it was promoted heavily via social media. You know, when you have connection with your gut and your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
when you're with your body, you kind of know the truth, and it's really difficult to shake you, even if you can constantly feel something. But when people are already disconnected, it's very easy to influence them. And I want to say, on example of Ukraine, I'm from Ukraine, so whenever war started, why we were so strong, I feel, is because people had very, very clear values, and
Mm-hmm.
they had very clear identities, you know. And the identities were not the fake facade identities, they were real things they believed, and they tested out, they knew who they were authentic, and that allowed us to kind of carry on for many, many years. And you are unable to connect back, and that makes people very kind of confused. And in this confusion, their power goes down, their strength goes down. And so, whenever there will be stress in any form, they are unable to react as they should. It's like animals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We when animals, they have a gut feeling of okay, there will be storm, we should do this, you know, like
Yeah.
they know, they know stuff even without technology. We have so much technology, we say, but
Yeah.
we are still like a much more unhappy and much more disconnected, and now we are much weaker, kind of, you know, even though we have that technology.
So I'm thank you for bringing up the point of wars and everything, because the more I feel like more recently we've been seeing a lot more wars
Mm,
spring up, and more than that we've been seeing a lot more division when it comes to people
yeah.
supporting one side or the other. And I think this again stems from the information we're fed, obviously from news sources and everything, but also to a large point social media, because a recent study found that around 70% of Gen Z only consume information and news from social media. They don't read the paper, they don't watch television news. So social media is quickly turning into the only news source for a lot of people. And the one issue with social media is it's not regulated.
And it's
Like,
managed by an algorithm which
yeah,
shows you what you like, so it constantly confirms your belief, you know, so you are
yeah.
never able to think differently or see truly another person's perspective from another camp.
People create these facades of themselves
Yeah.
on social media, which is not a representation of what most people are. People on social media either show themselves as much better or much worse than they are in actuality. No one wants to show their actual real self on social media.
Exactly, that comes from trauma, from having been traumatized. Said that you are, your authentic self is not good enough. So you had to trade your authenticity for the facade, for the mask, in order to gain the attachment, to gain the influence, to gain the belonging to the
Mm-hmm.
group, to gain. And in the end, they got like a certain standing in society. And but inside, there is always this longing for your true self.
Yeah, and this is also a self-reinforcing loop, because we see influencers, we want to be like influencers, so we lose our authentic self
True.
to act more like these influencers that we see online, without realizing that even these people have lost their authentic self. They are not acting like who they are supposed to be. They are looking at all this wealth, this opulence, these women that they're trying to promote as a lifestyle, but it's not something that they are actually, they actually like. Even it's just something that they have to show, that they have to make it seem like this is the kind of life that they're living, to make more people want to have that kind of life.
Exactly.
Yeah, anyway, I think this is the end of our podcast, but thank you for all for listening, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Was a nice talk.